Do you ever feel like brush styling takes forever only to leave your waves and curls looking straighter instead of curlier? In today's video, I'm going to show you a quick brush styling method that gives you all the benefits of using a brush such as even product distribution and frizz control without weighing down or stretching out your waves and curls. My name is Gina and welcome back to my channel. Here we talk all things naturally curly. I love simplifying things and helping you problem solve with your curls. And I'm also a curl coach who helps my clients do that. I get to watch them style, which is what has inspired a lot of this video after seeing all of the common mistakes that beginners make, that wavy hair people make. This routine will get you the results that you want without the negative effects. So let's get started. I'm first starting out with clean, damp hair, and I'm just gonna take my spray bottle and mist it down a bit because I like my hair to be evenly wet. You don't want it to be too dry or soaking wet. Then I'm applying my heat protectant, which is Curlsmith's Miracle Shield, and I'm going to brush it through with my Tangle Teezer brush, which is what we're actually going to be styling with in just a bit. This one's great because it's multi-purpose. I'm also applying the AG Recoil Cream for some extra moisture because I'm going to be using a stronghold gel today that's very low in moisture, and my hair does need a bit of moisture, but the gel I'm going to share with you in just a bit is going to be great for fine, soft waves, loose curls, and you probably don't even need a curl cream, so you could skip this step. A little goes a long way with this curl cream, so I just apply a small amount and work the rest up, ensuring everything is evenly coated and brushing it through. Then I'm going to section my hair, but what you don't want to do is create too many unnecessary sections. This is a common mistake that I often see. Having really small sections and multiple clips everywhere is just going to be too messy for you to try and brush style, and this is just excessive and probably not needed. Instead, what I like to do is create my sections right above my ear, and then I do another one around my temple, which ends up being about 3 sections total. I do split my top one in half later, so technically I guess it's about 4 sections, but the number of sections are really going to depend on your hair's density. If your hair is thicker, you're going to need more, but if you have lower density hair like me, you only need a couple. For my gel today, I'm using the Rizos Stronghold Gel. I'm going in with about a dime size amount per section. I'm also adding some water and just rubbing that together, and then I'm raking that through each section. This gives a very strong hold, and it's very low in conditioning agents, and it also has a lot of texture and grit, making it a great gel for fine or overly soft hair types. My hair is not that hair type, which is why I used the curl cream first. So if your hair is a bit more coarse, then you might want to use that curl cream first. I do pick up more gel as needed if I feel that gel disappear as I go to the other side, but you want to start small and then keep adding more if needed. But the key is to not be stingy with your gel. If you struggle with frizz like I do, then you need to make sure that you are thoroughly raking in your gel and you're feeling it in all areas. Now for a super quick method for brush styling, this is typically what I do on the lower section. So I'm just taking my Tangle Teezer and I'm gently brushing my hair from underneath with a little bit of tension. Not much tension at all. The brush is still gliding through easily, but I'm just turning it enough to where the hair does go around the edge a little bit and it helps to bounce up the curls. I will show you some mistakes that you might be making if it's completely straightening out your waves here in a second, but this method is just the quickest way to essentially just distribute your product and get a little bit of bounce in your curl, but not have to do a ton of brush styling. Now here's where people often go wrong with brush styling. If you didn't have tight curls and you hold your brush at the wrong angle or go in the wrong direction or just pick up an incorrect clump size, it might straighten them out. There's so much room for error when it comes to brush styling waves and loose curls. And sometimes excessive tension or over manipulating can have the opposite effect on waves and just straighten them out. So here are the couple of reasons that I often see that waves and curls straighten out when brush styling. The first one being your section is too large. If you pick up too large of a section, you're just creating excess weight. So when you go to brush style, it just creates this really thick, heavy, chunky curl clump. Look how straightened out my hair is there. I'm all about saving time, but just be mindful of them being too large. You might have to adjust the angle of your brush if you're going to pick up a large section, or just go in and separate it with your hands after. See how this is much smaller in width? It's only about a centimeter wide. Then I'm running my brush through. So you see how much better the curls formed when picking up a smaller curl clump size. And once you get the hang of it, it will still be quick to go through these sections. And maybe it's just you pick up smaller sections in the front and don't worry about the rest of your hair. But just to give you an overview, here's the difference in the size that I'm talking about here. This is also really going to maximize your volume because if your hair is over clumped, it's really just going to flatten everything. The next mistake is over clumping or forcing different curl families together. This kind of goes hand in hand with creating too large sections, because if your section's too large, you're also forcing curls together that might not belong together. Unless if you just naturally have curls that all go in the same direction. I know I definitely don't. So when I do this, it always straightens them out because I'm trying to force curls in the opposite direction. And when you do that, it's just going to straighten out. So instead, if you pick up a smaller section, you can really target those differences in the direction of your curls. And don't worry about it if you can't figure out the direction of your curls. Sometimes we don't know, but if you at least pick up a smaller section, it gives more room for those curls to form. So look how small my natural curl clump size. That's much smaller than what any brush can create by doing a big chunky curl clump. Next mistake is holding the brush at the wrong angle. So if you're not holding it at the right angle, it will also straighten it out. So see how much straighter the top of my roots are when I'm not holding the brush properly. I like to point my brush down, so I actually reach over my head and point it down towards the floor, and then I'm going in the right direction there. And you can see how much better the curl curls up when I'm pointing it downward versus holding it more straight up and down or just at a weird angle. It's not enough pressure and enough tension when you're not holding it in the right way. You don't have to point it down, but at least hold it to where it's more parallel with your head. Also, if you're going in the wrong direction, which is also similar to holding it at the wrong angle, it's also going to straighten out. We can't force our curls into the opposite direction. That's going to have the opposite effect. It's really difficult to figure out the direction if you have waves or loose curls, but you can just look at which way the first bend in your hair goes. So the bend in mine is actually pointing towards my face or pointing towards the left. So that's the way that I need to curl this section. And if you're not sure, you can always just try it both directions. The more you brush style, you'll get the hang of knowing which direction your curls go in. Look how much better this curl curled up when I went in the right direction. And another little tip, if you don't really want to go in any direction at all, you can just do horizontal sections and hold your brush more perpendicular to your head instead of pointing it up or down. Another big one is if you're in a rush and you're not applying the right amount of tension or following through the strand. If you don't have any tension and you just kind of let the hair flop out of the brush, it's not going to curl the hair at all. There's nothing really happening there. If you lift off of the hair instead of following all the way through, it also will not curl the hair properly. You don't have to apply a ton of pressure, but just a little bit with the brush. You can even use your other hand. It makes a big difference. Sometimes I'll use my opposite hand to apply some of that tension, just pressing down lightly, and then the curls will curl up. Another big thing to consider is if your hair is weak or lacking protein or structure, it's also not going to curl up. If you're currently recovering from damage, you're probably not getting as much curl retention, and it does get better in time with the right treatments. Buildup is another big one. If your hair is weighed down from buildup or just too much moisture, it's also not going to bounce up. So if you're really struggling with your hair straightening out, you might want to consider some of these mistakes or causes to fix it. Before you jump to microplopping or diffusing, you cannot skip this step. After watching several of my clients style, this is one of those little things I picked up on that they weren't doing but can make a huge difference in waves and loose curls. So after you take your clips down, after you're done styling, mist your hair with some water if it's starting to dry, and then simply scrunch each section to encourage curl formation. You can add a little bit of gel if you're seeing any frizz in your hair, but just going around and scrunching can really help to bring out the waves and curls. You want to do this before you pick up your towel and before you start drying your hair, because once you do those things, your hair is going to start to set. But we first need to encourage the curls and waves while it's still wet. Just make sure that your hands are not starting to dry or feel sticky, because that can cause frizz. And also make sure you're scrunching evenly and gently and not being too aggressive or rough, so that way you don't get frizz. Next, I'm going to microplop. So if you styled it soaking wet, which can be really helpful for waves and loose curls, you will need to remove some of that excess water so your curls don't elongate further. I highly recommend doing this step if you styled soaking wet. So just take a wet section of your hair towel and then gently scrunch your hair to remove that excess water. Just be gentle and don't rub. Then I like to add a little bit of extra gel mixed with water. This is just to tame any frizz, and it also helps to increase your hold, because once you're going in with that second coat of gel on hair that's starting to dry, it's really going to increase your hold. I don't recommend doing the traditional plopping technique where you wrap your hair up against your scalp, because that can really weigh down your roots and press product onto your scalp. Microplopping is much faster and gives better results. Now it's time to diffuse, which is critical to set your waves and curls in place. If you air dry, your curls may elongate due to gravity and not last as long. Diffusing sets your curl shape with gentle heat. You can air dry if you prefer a more elongated look, but just make sure you're scrunching out that excess water like I shared previously. And it should not take you forever to diffuse either. Microplopping will drastically reduce your dry time. Also, the Curlsmith diffuser has greatly reduce my dry time. It usually takes me anywhere from 8 to 10 minutes, just depending on the stylers that I use, but your density will also impact your dry time. Obviously, if your hair is super thick or really long, it's probably gonna take you a little bit longer. I also love using the prongs of the diffuser to lift my roots. This gives so much more curl at the root and a lot more volume. Highly recommend if you're not already. Once my hair is fully dry, I'm ready to scrunch out the cast. I recommend leaving this in if you struggle with your curls and waves falling limp or not lasting, because it will help them last a lot longer. It will gradually release throughout the day or overnight. If your curls immediately flop or frizz at this stage, that is a sign that you may not have the right gel or there's an imbalance of hold and moisture in your routine. I recommend checking out my stronghold method. If you haven't seen it already, you can download that for free below. So here are my final results. My curls are defined and soft, no over clumping or stretched out curls here. I've really been loving embracing my smaller, more narrow curl pattern because it helps to fill in my hair and it gives so much more definition and bounce because I'm not forcing the curls in a direction or into a clump where they don't belong. It's now day 2, and can you believe these results without any refreshing? All I did was fluff out my roots and sort of organize my curl clumps. I separated a few curl clumps, tucked in a little bit of frizz on top. But for it being pretty humid outside, these are really great results and it feels so much better. I really like the recoil cream with this gel opposed to other curl creams I've tried with it and opposed to using it by itself. I do think this is the right combo for my hair type. It doesn't feel quite as sticky or texturized when pairing it with the recoil cream compared to when I use it with other creams or by itself. So if you've tried the Rizos gel and you didn't like how it made your hair feel the next day, definitely try it with recoil or some other curl cream underneath to see if you like that better. But as you can see, I just have some normal natural frizz, but nothing too crazy. I've even worked out, I showered and all of that, and it's been 24 hours and it still looks really good. No refresh needed. It's actually super clumped, even though I didn't style it for a lot of clumping. I'm really impressed that I do still have great day 2 results without doing a ton of styling. But a lot of it comes down to my finger coiling and then just in general, using the brush for a really even application of product helps your hair last so much longer. So if you're not already doing these steps, definitely try implementing them and make sure that you have that good stronghold gel if you want your results to last. Let me know what you think about these results down below. And if you decide to try out these techniques, please come back and update me and tell me if it worked better for your waves and curls. If you are still not getting hold out of your hair and you've tried everything, I highly recommend downloading my stronghold method cheat sheet because it could be something going on with your product or how you're applying it. If you're still getting looser waves or they're getting straightened out and you know that your curls have more potential, it could be something going on with your application, which is really what this method covers. So that's a free downloadable cheat sheet. I will have it linked for you down below. And if you want to see an even easier routine where you don't even need to section your hair, but you can still get that even product distribution and a little bit of curl enhancement and frizz control, check out the recent video that I did. I will have it linked right here on the screen. It's a quick and easy styling routine that still fights frizz without sectioning and much less styling. So I hope you find that helpful and I will talk to you over there. Bye everyone.